Hi guys, welcome to this episode of the Happy Knitting Podcast. My name is Julia and I'm coming to you as always from Germany. Today is Sunday, it's the 11th of August 2019 and I'm so glad that you're joining me today to talk about some knitting. If you're watching for the first time, welcome. I really hope that you will enjoy this podcast. And if you're coming back, thank you ever so much for those of you who come back every week, those of you who leave comments, and also those of you who are just silent viewers. I appreciate those of you as well. So today, apparently I can't talk. I'm having huge difficulties even recording the intro. Part of that could be because it's only 9:30 in the morning, which is crazy, and crazier than that, I don't even have any coffee because I don't like to have my coffee too early in the morning, which, yes, I know that's insane, but there we are. Anyhow, this is a knitting podcast, so I have some finished objects to show you. I have some works in progress. I have a little bit of stash acquisitions, and I thought I might talk to you a little bit about what I'm planning to knit on holiday, and yeah, we just see how it goes. I think this is going to be a chatty one, so we'll just get started, and I hope you have some knitting or crochet or whatever you like to do while you're watching podcasts, and I will just ramble on. Alright, so finished objects. Should we start with the elephant in the room? The boxy elephant in the room? Yes, I have finished my boxy sweater, you guys, and I'm so excited about it. This is, of course, the Boxy by Joji Locatelli. She has a couple of different versions now, but this is her fingering weight boxy. And I finished it, and I could not be more excited about this garment. I think I just tried it on this morning for the first time after blocking, and it's just so amazing. I think I might cast on another one straight away because it's my second one that I knit, but it's the first one that I knit that I like the colors of. And it's just so amazing, and I feel like I could knit another 10 of these and they would just be my standard wardrobe because it is just that good. So I will try to stand up and show you without necessarily showing you my pajama pants. You get the idea? It's nice and flowy, but it's not like super huge, which is exactly what I want. It's just very drapey. I have a great fit on the shoulders. It's just, I love it so much, you guys. So I'll talk to you about the yarn first, and then I'll try to actually talk to you about all the modifications that I've made, because I know I'm notoriously bad at letting you know the modifications. So the yarn was a skein of Wollmeise lace yarn, which is their lace yarn that comes in these huge 300-gram skeins. I only use, I think, less than 200 grams. Is that possible? I think it is. Something like that. I used about a third of the skein, 2/3 of the skein. And the colorway is Catriona, which is one of their relatively new ones. I think it's one of their marbles range, but I could be wrong about that. I got that skein when I went to Wollmeise in the beginning of July, and they said it was a very new colorway. But what do I know? I knit this garment on 3.5mm US size 4 needles, and yeah, I just decided to cast on with the needles that felt right, and gave me the fabric that I wanted. Like, the gauge is just, it's perfect. It's like nice and drapey, and I love it. And it turned out I was actually on the suggested gauge, so that was great. In terms of modifications, this is the second boxy that I've knit, and just as with the first one, I cast on a few less stitches because it's already a huge garment. It is super wide, and I think I cast on 300 stitches. And then I just knit my body in with these 300 stitches. I did a couple more rows of the ribbing at the bottom because that tends to flare up. And then I had to just wing it from there, because obviously the numbers for the shoulders and all of that don't really work if you change the number of stitches that you have. So then I just did a little bit of math and figured it out. So I used about the smallest size numbers for the neckline, and then just subtracted whatever stitches I didn't cast on, if that makes any sense. Besides that, for the first time I did do the garter detail on the shoulders, which I actually do quite like. I did my own kind of sleeve decreases, and because my sweater is a little bit less wide. Of course, I had to knit the sleeves a little bit longer to get to the same length. But yeah, I really, really like it. The only thing is that the boxy tends to have a very wide, loose neckline, which I didn't want. So instead of starting with a 3.5 and then going down to a 3mm needle, I actually started the neckline with 3mm needles and then went down to a 2.5 when you're supposed to go down and bound off pretty tightly. And that really drew in the neckline. I love the neckline as it is now. It's really nice and stable, but it doesn't fall off my shoulders too much, and I just love it. I'm so happy with this garment. So there it is. Very, very excited about it. As you can see, it's definitely my most exciting FO that I have for you this week. And yeah, should I cast on another one straight away, like for a holiday? Because honestly, I didn't really mind knitting it. I know people hate it because it's just such a long garment and so many stitches, but for me it went pretty fast. I knit this in just over a month, knitting all the other sweaters as well. So it wasn't too bad. I think you just have to know that there's a lot of stockinette, and if you're okay with that, it'll be fine. Yeah, so that is that. Next up, you guys, you won't believe it. I finished all of my sweaters besides the handspun one, which is in hibernation. So I actually, on Friday, I had both of these still as works in progress, and then on Friday night I finished this one. And yesterday I spent the entire day knitting another sleeve for this sweater, and it's done as well. So this is a sweater knit out of Dererum Natura in their Ulysse base. And again, I'm so sorry, I forgot the labels again, but they're on my project page, and all of my project pages are linked right underneath this video. So if you're looking for anything that I've talked about, don't look for show notes, just check out my project pages and you will find everything. But this is a French yarn. It's amazing. It's very woolly, but at the same time it's incredibly soft. And I just blocked this. It's still a little bit wet, but just by washing it, and then I spun it in just on a spinning cycle in my washing machine just to get the water out, it has just fluffed up, and it's just so squishy and fluffy, and I love it. The sweater is again one of the Tin Can Knits Strange Brew sweaters. So I made it up myself, following that recipe. I used the decay weight version, knitted top down. I did some, what's it called? Short rows for the back. As you can see, there's color work on the yoke, and then it's just a plain blue sweater. What I really like about this one is the fact that I did a ton of 1x1 twisted rib, which was a pain to knit, but just look how beautiful that came out. I think it just adds a whole another level of finishing. It just looks so nice. So I'm not going to wear this today because A, I'm already wearing a sweater, and B, it's just still a little bit warm and wet, and I don't want to bend it out of shape, but you get the idea. I really love it. I wish you could feel the yarn. Maybe you can see there's like a tiny bit of a fluffy halo on top, and that's what makes this garment so beautifully soft. So again, very happy with this. This is my third Strange Brew. I think you know by now how much I love the pattern and the different sweaters you get out of it every time you knit it. Definitely not going to be my last Strange Brew. And that's a pattern by Tin Can Knits, in case I didn't mention that. Alright, so that's that. By the way, also knit on 3.5mm needles. And then I have another FO, and it's one that you haven't even seen as a work in progress unless you're following me on Instagram. So if you do want to do that, I am the Happy Knitting Podcast over there as well. I'm not trying to plug myself, it's just that's the only place where you can really follow and get info on what I'm doing, why I'm not podcasting and such. Because yeah, that's kind of the only social media that I do for my podcast. Alright, so you may remember I spun a crepe sock yarn. When was that? I don't know, 2 months back or something. It was my first time spinning a crepe yarn, and if you don't know what it is, crepe or crepe is a certain technique of spinning and plying a 3-ply yarn that is supposed to make a very, very durable and springy handspun sock yarn. There's a lot of information about that in the Ply magazine that is based on socks and spinning for socks. I'm not sure. I think it's the issue from last year, the winter issue or fall or something. Anyways, it was my first time trying that technique. Essentially, you spin 2 singles one way, then ply them the other way, then also spin a third single which goes the opposite way, and then ply the single and the twisted yarn together into a 3-ply. So I had done that with some fiber from Das Mondschaf. This was just a merino nylon, and I had then caked it up, and it's just been sitting on my desk and wanted to be knit up. And this was one of those yarns that I didn't want in stash for too long, because I really just wanted to see how my crepe yarn would work up, how it would last, and what I could change if I do it again. So last Sunday, I cast on these socks. I cast them on bottom up or toe up, because with handspun, this was a little bit thicker than your normal fingering weight yarn. So I find toe up very useful for that, because then you can just start with the toe, increase a little bit, see how it feels, if it's the right size, and it's less guesswork for me than doing it top down and just randomly guessing at how many stitches I need to cast on. I knit these 2 at a time, and you guys, within 48 hours these were done. And I'm so proud of these. So, they worked out pretty fast because, like I said, it was thicker yarn. So I think I used something like 52 stitches in the end. And I just did a stockinette foot. Then I put in fish lips kiss heels, and then I did a 3x1 rib for the cuff, which is something I'm really enjoying at the moment, which you will see in a minute. And I'll just show you one, and can you see how nicely that worked out? I'm just so in love with these socks. When I spun these, I spun 2 singles identically, so they would, they wouldn't marl, but then I purposely spun the third single the other way around, so I would get a slight marling effect. So you can see there's always like, here it's kind of like a red base with 1 yellow single, and then it goes into, here is a green base with 1 yellow single going through, and so on. And it just created this marled, like a Zauberball sort of effect, and I love it. I love it so much. These socks, I knit them on 2.5mm needles, so they're on a pretty tight gauge for the thickness of the yarn. And I honestly think these will last centuries. They are very, very sturdy socks, but they're not like rough. They're still soft, but they're just very, very sturdy. In terms of the opposing ply in the yarn, you don't really notice it when knitting it up or when just feeling the socks. It just feels like your standard 3-ply sock, but I think it is going to just be very, very long lasting. And just look at those little stitches. I think they're just so pretty. Yeah, I also like how the colors worked out. I think they worked out really nicely. These socks definitely are a pair, but they're not the same, which is fun. And yeah, I'm just so ridiculously happy with these. I'm sorry, I keep waffling on about these, but I'm just very, very happy. So they're done. Because they're a little bit thicker, I think I'm going to be using them in the depths of winter, maybe for hiking. I'm not sure if they would be great in like everyday shoes. I probably wouldn't wear these to work. But like I said, for these really cold days and like walks in the snow, these will be amazing. And that's also why I made them about this length, because I think they would look really nice if you have like boots and then just like the top bit comes out of your boots. I think that would look really nice. And I don't like it when there's like 4 inches of sock over your boot, but this could be really good. Or at least that's what I'm thinking. So there we go with these. Super, super happy with these. I'm sorry I'm waffling your ears off about these, but they just make me so happy. So yeah, that is 3 of those. And let's move on to some works in progress. So what do I have on the needles? Not that much actually. I'm still theoretically working on my handspun sweater, but I haven't looked at it in weeks because it makes me sneeze. So That's on timeout right now. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do about that. I think I will pick it back up and just work on it and it'll be fine. But right now I just don't feel like it. I feel like I've knit a lot of sweaters and right now I want to knit all the socks. So I have 2 pairs of socks on the needles. One of them you've already seen, I think is this one. In here I have my sock blank socks, and this is from a sock blank by Laughing Yaffo, who is a UK-based dyer. Her name is Ali, and this is the second sock blank of hers that I am using, and I'm really, really enjoying it. So if you don't know, it's essentially just a knitted piece of fabric that came knitted, and then the dyer dyes it like this. So, you know, in this case, she has some stencils on here, and it's just a different dyeing technique. And then when you knit with it, you just unravel, and the blank and the yarn comes out all squiggly. But it just creates a different sort of dyeing effect. Because the yarn is so squiggly, my sock is also very like messy and squiggly. But once I block these and wash these and wear these will just look like your average sock, and all the twisty little stitches will just fall into place. So this is where I am with it. Not a huge amount of progress since I last showed it to you, but I did put in the heel, and I'm about halfway, a little bit over halfway down the foot. And I'm just really enjoying these. They're just really fun to knit. It's just a plain vanilla sock, 64 stitches on a US size 1 or a 2.25 millimeter needle. And these have just been kind of the knitting that I've taken with me when I was out for dinner. Yesterday I went out for lunch with Kai. We went to a really fancy, stylish place, and I pulled out my knitting and he was horrified. But I don't care. And he got used to it within a second. Yeah. So that is that. And then I've been saying I'm just obsessed with socks right now. And I kind of tried not to cast on too many things because I want to be able to cast on all the new things when I go on holiday on Wednesday. But yesterday I was just so proud of having finished 2 sweaters, and I just had to cast on some yarn. And I cast on some yarn that was already caked up and in my stash for a long time. And I've really been wanting to knit with it, I just never got around to it. And this yarn, I will be honest, this was given to me as a gift from the dyer, so just for transparency's sake, I'm not sponsored, I'm not paid to say anything nice about it, but it was a gift. And this yarn is by Mad Fuzzy Yarn, she's a lovely person, and she also has her own podcast. And she gave this to me a while ago, and I feel really bad that I only am knitting with it now. But she has a really, really interesting yarn shop because her bases are just very interesting. I think all of her bases come from Frisian sheep. And Frisian wool is from a sheep that is, I think, primarily used for milk. So it's a different sort of animal, and therefore the fiber is different, and it creates a different kind of yarn, which I think is really interesting. Everything she does is very local to her. And yeah, she gave me this sock set. It's called After Camp sock set. Pretty tough. And it's 80% East Frisian wool, 20% Starfire nylon, which is also very interesting because it's a glitter base, but Starfire is different to the normal Selena that you get everywhere else. So I'm not sure if you can tell, but the yarn, I think it's a 2-ply. It's got a really interesting structure, and it has the slightest, it's not really a sparkle, it's just like a shimmer to it. So it is definitely a sparkly base, but it's very different to the normal sparkle bases that you get in your yarn. Maybe you can see it more in this one, I'm not sure. Anyways, I just decided to cast it on yesterday. These have only 400 yards, so 300 and something meters per skein. So I cast on 60 stitches instead of my 64 that I usually do. And still, I feel like this is coming out pretty big. So these may be for Kai or they may be for me. I don't really care. But this is where we are. So I cast on a 1x1 rib for the ribbing. And I'm again knitting a 3x1 ribbed sock because I'm really enjoying the 3x1 rib at the moment. I'm not sure what it is about it, but I'm just really, really enjoying it. And I even managed to put in the heel yesterday night. And how fun is this? I really, really like this. Now looking at it again, it doesn't really look that big, but that's also because it's a ribbed sock. So let's check it. Let's check it out. This is what it will look like on the foot, and it's just really pretty, isn't it? I really like it. The yarn is unlike any other yarn that I've knit with for socks. Just the base is very different. It's kind of crunchy. It's definitely a sort of woolly wool, but I think it will last for a very long time, and I'm actually really enjoying it. Like, it's not your MCN yarn, it's not your merino yarn. It doesn't come out super even. You can tell on the yarn. It's a beautiful ply, but it's not the most even ply. Sometimes it's a little bit thick and thin, but I'm really enjoying it, and I also really enjoy the colors in this skein. I think they're really pretty. So again, they may be for me, they may be for Kai. It just kind of depends, but I'm definitely enjoying them. Again, I'm using US size 1 2.25 millimeter needles. And yeah, Fish Lips Kiss Heel, of course. And yeah, I like it when the socks are at this point, they kind of look like they're talking. But maybe I'm just an idiot. So yeah, so that is that. Did I show you the label, the back side of it? Let's show it to you. So there you go. And then I have one more project in a very similar color range. And that is, of course, what I call my work shawl, because this is the shawl that I have next to my desk when I'm working from home. And I just put in a row every time I have like a phone conference or a video call, and I don't need to make notes. Tip: if you're having an interview and your HR person starts knitting because you're talking too much, then you're definitely talking too much. Anyways, this is where we are. I am finally getting somewhere with this shawl. This is a handspun yarn, and I'm using the Diving In recipe, which is a free pattern on Ravelry, except I am of course modifying it. But there's just a really nice set of like increases and decreases that makes for a nice asymmetric shawl. So I'm just using that as a recipe, but the shawl itself has theoretically 2 colors and stripes and all these things, which I'm not doing. I'm just using it as a base for a very, very simple, never-ending garter stitch shawl. So that is where we are with that. I think I'm close to being done, but I do want to try to, if possible, use up all of the yarn. I'm kind of running out of patience, but just making it a little bit bigger could be really good. So that is where we are with that. The rows are quite long. I can give you a close-up of what it looks like. So it's definitely got this handspun look to it, but I think it's really nice. And yeah, it's about a fingering weight handspun. It's one of the first skeins that I spun on my e-spinner, which is the Ashford e-spinner 3. This is how much I have left, and this is again fiber from Das Mondschaf. And this was a BFL and mohair blend. It was my first ever time spinning with mohair. I'm not sure if you can see the halo on it. It does have a bit of a halo. It's a bit fuzzy. It's not super tightly plied, and yeah, I think it came out really well, and I think this shawl is the perfect project for this yarn as well. Maybe you can see the fuzz on the shawl a bit. So yeah, that is my that is my work shawl, and I'm again knitting this like everything else basically on 3.5 millimeter US size 4 needles. And you can just get that Diving In recipe. It's a free pattern, and just use any yarn and any needles, and it will be pretty much fine. So let's talk about acquisitions and then some sock knitting plans, because both things are related. So I know I've been on a garment kick and colorware kick, and right now all I can think about is socks. So the other day I saw that Regia, you know my love of Regia, they came out with a new range of perfect yarns, which are the yarns that give you sort of patterning identical socks. So they have a new range, which is their partner look range. And the idea is that they always have like 2 colorway sets that go together, and it's like one for you and one for your partner. So they're sort of like maternal socks, which it's a cool idea. I'm not going to make matchy socks for me and my husband, but the idea was fun, and more importantly, the colors are fun. So, for example, you can see with this one, it has the pink, and then the main color is gray, and then there's a partner colorway where the main color will be pink, and the cuffs and so on will be gray. So that's the sort of idea they have with the partner thing. And then they also have male and female names. Not sure how I feel about it, but the colors are fun. So I just picked up a couple because I had some Amazon credit. And yeah, you can see it has like a striping leg, colorful heel, and then just a single colored foot. And all of this, you don't have to change any yarns. You can just follow the instructions, which you have to really do for all of these perfect yarns, and then you will get these pairs of socks. So I picked this up. Of course, I had to go with the pink. I also picked up this colorway because I thought it could be fun for maybe my father-in-law. I know he wants more socks desperately, and I really should knit him some more. And then I picked up this one because I thought it would be fun for Kai. They look really fun on the picture, I think. Really, this green, I was a little bit disappointed because it's very pastel, which I didn't really expect. But I think I'm still going to knit them for him, and whatever he doesn't like, he can his father-in-law can have, because he is much more appreciative of my hand knits because he doesn't get that many. So yeah, I'm just thinking about socks. I'm probably going to take some of these on our holiday. And I've also, I haven't really started packing my knits for the holiday, but yesterday I decided to just pull out some sock yarn skeins that I definitely want to take and hopefully turn into some socks while we are away. So these are definitely contenders. I think this one I'm taking with me. I'm also planning to finally knit up this perfect colorway, which is another really fun rainbow one from their rainbow series. It seems that every time they come out with a new series, I have to buy a couple of balls, and then I never get around to knitting with it. But I do want to knit this one up. This is 1736 if you're interested. And I also think I'm going to take this skein of West Yorkshire Spinners, which was a birthday present that I got myself last year for my birthday. I got the idea because Kai, yesterday we went out shopping, didn't get anything, but he saw these commercial socks, and they were like white stripes of a mustard yellow and a dark gray, and he really liked them. And I said I would knit him some, but I just don't have the yarn in stash right now. I have all the colors, but I don't have any mustard yellow sock yarn, I think. Although maybe I should check. Anyways, so that's something for the future, but these colors just kind of reminded me, and I'm sure he won't agree with me because this is definitely not the same thing. But again, I will knit these up either for Kai or for his dad. And yeah, so I have some sock knitting plans. I'm thinking maybe I'll cast on a boxy for the holiday and then just take like a ton of sock yarn. But just because I like to knit socks right now doesn't mean that I won't be bored by socks in 5 days. So anyways, those are just some ideas. And because I've been thinking about all these socks, and most importantly all these commercial sock yarn socks, I was like, we should start a new knit along, like Summer of Socks or Simple Summer Sock Along or something like that. And then I remembered that we actually have a sock knitting sock along. That was a weird word, a sock knit along. Because you may remember, if you've been watching for a very long time, that we used to have the One Ball with Love cow. And the idea was to, for a year, knit at least one pair of commercial sock yarn socks. So exactly this yarn per month. And that cow ran for a long time, and then we just kind of left the threads open, and people are still posting, which is amazing. I think we have something like 400 socks in there, and they're all from commercial sock yarn, so I really like that also in terms of accessibility. Like, not everyone can afford to knit with fancy yarn, and not everyone wants to afford crazy fancy yarn. Like, yeah. So I realized there's no real point in starting a new knit along if we kind of already have the thing going informally in the group. So I'm just going to reawaken that knit along, and if you do want to join me and knit some commercial socks with me, please feel free to do so. The link for the group will be right underneath this video. I think there's a hashtag, and yeah, I would just like some company, and I know some of you have been just keeping on knitting commercial socks anyway, so thank you for all of you who have filled the thread, and if you're thinking about it, do check out the group because there's just the most amazing and beautiful commercial hand knit socks in there. So yeah, socks are in my mind. And that is it in terms of the knitting content, except there's one thing. I got myself a wooden needle because I want to knit on a plane, and Germans are tough sometimes with their knitting needles. I do have some wooden DPNs, but I hate knitting on DPNs at the moment. So I decided to get myself some wooden circular needles, except that I got the wrong size. I got the 2mm or US size 0 because I remembered this very late before we are going away. So I had to order whatever I could get with next day shipping with Amazon Prime. And they didn't have the 2.25, but I don't care. I have a feeling I'm going to be knitting more loosely on these anyways because I don't like to knit tightly on wooden needles. So yeah, there we go. And again, I'm sorry, I keep mentioning all of these brands and things. I'm not sponsored. I'm paying with this with my own money. Just wanting to point that out. Alright, that's it for the knitting content for sure though. So all that's left to talk about is what's been going on and what will be going on in the next couple of weeks. In terms of what's been happening, nothing too special. I'm trying to wrap up things at work so I can actually go away and not think about work, which would be nice, would be an added bonus. We had a very, very chill weekend, which has been great. I've just spent so much time knitting, and recently I've really enjoyed our balcony. We have a balcony, but we never really spent much time on it. And for a long time we didn't because we just didn't have the best table. And it was just a little bit too big and just made it really uncomfortable and claustrophobic to sit on the balcony, but we did get a new one a couple of months back. Actually back when we also got these new shelves for my yarn. And I've been doing a lot of gardening last weekend, and ever since then I've just been really enjoying sitting up there, listening to audiobooks and knitting. So that's been really, really fun and made me a lot happier than I usually am when we sit in our stuffy apartment. We're really lucky to have there's a garden right behind our house which we could theoretically even use, we just don't. So you're sitting out there in the middle of the city and everything is just green, and there's a ton of woodpeckers. We have like the green and red woodpeckers, and we also have, I think the normal ones are red, and then we have the green ones, and then we have the brown ones. And it's amazing. You can just watch them every day. And we also have a ton of squirrels, and it's just really nice to sit out there and knit. Besides that, we went out to like an American style deli yesterday and had the best food. I love it. And now I'm constantly hungry and thinking about food. Yeah. And today I just want to get organized. I also kind of want to organize my yarn because we're going to France in 3 days and I'm so excited about it. We'll be gone for 10 days. We'll be staying kind of in the area between Avignon, Nîmes, and Arles. So if you're in the area, do let me know. I'm not really planning to do much yarn shopping or knitty things. I know there's a yarn store that I quite liked in Avignon, but it just depends. I'm going to Oslo in, I think, about 4 weeks, so I don't really need to do another yarn shopping holiday before that. But if there is some souvenir yarn that jumps into my life, I mean, what am I going to do? But yeah, we're just going, the two of us. We have a cute Airbnb with a pool, and I'm just so excited to just do nothing. Just hang out, have amazing French food, practice my French, And yeah, so very excited about that. Obviously, all the knitting has to be planned. All the yarn needs to fit into my suitcase. But yeah, I'm very excited, of course, and there's only 2 more work days to get through, so cross your fingers for me that those will be easy and no major drama, and I'm really ready for this holiday. We haven't really had a holiday since our what's it called, honeymoon in April, which in the beginning of April doesn't seem like that long ago, but it's been really stressful in terms of work ever since, so I am very happy to go away. That of course means that the podcast will be pausing. There will definitely not be a podcast next week. Maybe, but that's a big maybe. I will record one when I get back, but we do get back on a Sunday afternoon, and I think I may just be tired. So there will be at least a 1 week break, maybe a 2 week break. Sorry about that. There's nothing I can do. But again, I am trying to post more stories on Instagram to kind of take you along and show you what I'm doing, and I will definitely be spamming like holiday photos and things of what I'm knitting and so on. So if you do want to keep in touch, that is probably the best place. And also, I will always keep an eye on the Ravelry group. So yeah. That's pretty much it. Like I said, I would love to see you over in the group. Maybe some of you want to knit socks with me together. That would be really, really fun. And besides that, all that's left to say is thank you so much, as usual, for watching, for continuing to support my podcast. I will see you when I see you, and until then, I hope you have fun with your yarn. Happy knitting. Bye.